hit the music. Right.
Look how slim he looks in his hips and legs. He looks good. Ooh.
Nice.
You gotta do this.
Oh.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
do a little of this.
Can I do the Trump?
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's all. Oh, you're not.
I'm not chopping, but I'm happy to watch you
We
chop.
love the vector. We love the vector.
It's the best.
It's the best.
It's the best show ever. It's the best show ever. Your favorite Vector host is here today. I never did the chop before.
Do it. We want to see you
Yeah.
do it.
You know what?
Yeah.
We're going to watch
Yeah.
you.
Give it
do
another
I
round.
We're going to
almost-
get that on film.
I hate to. You know that. Okay, so the Vector is. You can remember it. It's tips, ideas, lessons, and observations. TILO, TILO. That's what the whole thing's about.
Well, we
Fun-
should have known that before we got here, but
Well, no,
that's
no,
helpful.
Yeah. Well, it's meant to be. It's meant to be not serious,
Okay.
only fun. And not everybody knows this, but even Matt over here, Matt, and anyone that's the guest never knows what is the topic of the day.
Tell me about it.
We've been trying to get it out of you. We
Yeah.
can't get it out
So
of you.
this is a special, really special, fun episode because these are my sisters, Lynn Armbrust and Christine Miklich. And, Matt and I, we normally name the episode after it's over, right? We kind of
Yeah, depending on what's said.
hash it out after what's said. But I'm going to start to give you a hint because you never really are told explicitly, like, hey, this is what we're talking about. We just start
it
talking
just
about it.
unfolds. Okay.
But I am going to give them a hint because I thought of what what we're going to title this episode, and it's going to be Homage to Sisterhood.
Oh, I like
Oh,
that.
That's going to be.
too.
You see what I'm
And
saying,
that's a
Matt?
clue.
Write that down.
We
Yeah.
could we could talk
He's
about
Well, I
writing
think
that
we're gonna
down.
have it
He's
recorded.
texting himself.
I think you'll have it recorded.
Oh, that's right.
But
I have a record of that.
yeah, can you give us a little music again?
Sure we got.
Did you select this music?
No, I think it's the part that's free. It comes with the system.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't want to pay royalties anybody.
Well, I don't blame you. Nor do the sisters.
I like it though.
Yeah,
It's got a good vibe.
Doesn't it feel
does.
good?
Yeah.
It really does.
I told Matt, I said, this is amazing.
Yeah, this is
It's
good.
as good as anything. Although, what was that one we played at the company meeting?
Machine gun.
Machine Gun.
That's what we wanted to use.
Yeah, but they wanted us to pay for it. So
Did
Yeah.
you call Machine Gun on that?
we
'Cause-
did.
Oh.
Just ask Beth.
Yeah, she's a fan.
Okay, so what we're going to do in our homage to Sisterhood is that we're going to talk about, we're going to ask some questions that are going to reveal a whole bunch about our sisters, Lynn and Christine, in a fun way.
Yeah, we don't want any tears.
No tears, and nothing serious, of course. But my first question is, and you get a chance to think about it, is just to kind of warm things up.
Okay.
I'll start with Christine. What is your favorite movie?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, if you're going to pin me to one,
Yeah,
That's tough.
yeah. You have to think about like you just want to get it
Okay.
out. What is the one that you think?
my childhood and growing up movie was definitely The Sound of Music.
Good one.
But I would have to
good
say, in current times, I watch on a regular basis, which would be like once a month, Pride and Prejudice.
Wow.
So it's like my healing movie. Like when
Yeah.
I'm feeling like that weird day where like my emotions are a little
Yeah,
out of whack,
yeah,
I just literally don't tell anyone this. I'd stay in bed
yeah.
and I make my coffee and I get back in bed and I
Yes.
watch Pride and Prejudice and then the world is right.
I think you should admit that.
Yeah.
I think that there's a
think
lot
I
of
just
people
did.
that could be helped by that.
Now, that's so interesting now. So, I have a Pride and Prejudice experience. In short, I'll say it like this. When I went on the spring daddy-daughter trip with Justine her junior year. We stayed at a fancy hotel. It was so fancy that you could look out the window and see the Arc de Triomphe that right from the window.
Wow.
It's all lit up.
Awesome.
No, I'm sorry, not the Arc de Triomphe, the Eiffel Tower. And it was all lit up. This is not an exaggeration. She introduced me to Pride and Prejudice. We laid next to each other on the bed. We watched it. She said, "Can we watch it again?" We watched it again.
Wow.
She said, "Can we watch it again?"
Oh, hopefully
And
you
we
said
watched
no.
it again.
Wow.
So we watched Pride and Prejudice, no exaggeration, back to back to back.
It's a lot.
What was really ironic is it went from like 2 in the afternoon to like 8 o'clock. And then we went to dinner.
Wow.
And the whole time, of course, we were doing,
I would've loved
I'm
that.
Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And you're, yes, Mrs. Darcy at the end, the whole
Yes.
thing. So that's wild. So you're a Pride and Prejudice fan.
I am. I knew Justine was because sometimes she'll text or I'll text her and she'll say, "Auntie, it was a Pride and Prejudice day."
Yeah.
And I'll say, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, 2 real quick things on that. Isn't it really cool? The best part of the movie, one of the best parts, is when he's walking across the field with his coat going in the air in the
Yeah.
wind, and he's coming to go get her.
Yeah.
Is that one of the best parts?
That is a pretty darn good part.
Yeah.
And then
Somehow they made him look sexy.
yeah.
Walking
And
through
then-
that field.
He is a chameleon through that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
What's really cool is, this is the same guy that's in Succession, right?
Yes, right,
Which
right.
is he's the son-in-law in Succession. I can't remember his name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to love him still. But he looks very different,
Yeah.
right? Different role. Okay. Tootsie Q.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
That is such a tough one. Although I'm glad you brought up Pride and Prejudice because I also do the once every couple months I have to turn it on. And
Something
I have to
about
be
it.
by myself. It's not one I would put on like when other people are with me. But I can only do the Keira Knightley version.
Me
I
too.
can't do these
Absolutely.
other versions.
I'm
For
with
me,
you
it's
on
not
that.
even the same movie.
Absolutely.
Don't-
Now, what's interesting about
And they
that,
even have one that's a ghoul and goblin version.
I didn't
or,
even watch it because that would upset me.
Yeah.
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 that they did that. to
Now,
that
what's
movie.
really cool about what you just said there is something like a takeaway from that is there are just some movies or television events or movie events that you want to do by yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it does keep it special. You're in your own element. There's no distractions or interruptions or
Yeah.
I don't know. There definitely is something to that.
And
Even
there's
going to
certain
the
people in the
movies
world-
alone.
There's certain people in the world that we will leave unnamed that could ruin a parade.
Oh,
So you don't want to even chance that that's
Yeah.
going
Right.
to happen.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we
I'm-
won't get into that.
So I would have to throw out there though. It's so hard to pick one,
Yeah.
but I've always loved Out of Africa and English Patient. I have to say
Oh,
those
that's a
two
good one,
are
too.
up there for me.
Yeah.
But the reason I think it's hard to pick one is then you go this totally other way and have these favorites like Moonstruck and
yeah.
Yes.
so it's
Yeah.
hard to say if you got one vote per genre, then I think we
You could pick it.
Yeah.
Like Love Actually, or like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't leave out those really
Oh,
special
yeah.
ones.
yeah.
Now,
hard.
would you say in our family, like for many families, like movies was a huge impact in just what we all share, like a shared experience
Oh,
or
yeah.
what we identified with?
Oh yeah.
Going back to like
Absolutely.
the
Going
Sound
back-
of Music. I remember
Yeah.
going to the Sound of Music at a movie theater, which would now be, this was like 1967.
Yeah.
I think is when we saw the Sound of Music.
Well,
I was like
and
6 years
and
old.
for a family like ours that didn't really spend tons of money going out doing family things, just the fact that we used to all get in the car and go to Parma Theater together,
Yeah.
where we got to see the movies for free because Dad was a firefighter and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
let
Yeah,
the
they
entire
honored the whole
family
family.
in.
Yeah.
And that was something I'll never
Me
forget.
too. Being
Yeah.
ushered in,
And we
like I thought we were
always-
special. I thought like, oh, we're getting ushered
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And we always sat separately from Mom and Dad. Remember, they would sit
Yeah.
together as if they didn't know us,
Yeah.
even though they brought us.
Yeah. Yeah.
The very first movie I can remember going, not with my friends, like getting dropped off at Parmatown Mall and going to the movies. That was different. But Mom and Dad taking me, believe it or not, when I was little, they took me to Paper Moon.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was
okay.
rated R.
I was
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
went to
I had my
Paper Moon.
eyes blocked most of the movie.
Tatum O'Neill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they must have wanted to really see that movie very badly because they took me.
Yeah.
And then the only other time it was, I don't think I was all that much older. Maybe I was 10, and Mom took me to A Star Is Born.
Wow,
Again.
that's heavy for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, well, I didn't see much of that one either.
Had your eyes
My
covered?
Yeah, my mom kept covering my eyes, but she wanted to see it
She
so
wanted to see
bad,
it.
I could tell. And
This is when you don't have a
those
nanny.
were those
Yeah.
were impactful movies for me because I can remember the feeling.
Oh,
like we're
yeah.
talking about being there and I don't know. There's something about the theater too versus watching a movie
Oh,
at
yeah,
home. And our family did a lot of both.
Definitely.
Growing up, and plus we weren't allowed to go. I wasn't allowed to do anything else, so we did stay home and watch a lot of movies. And I still love. We all still love movies.
Love,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and
Movies are
it
big.
actually becomes like a form of the language. Like you can actually relate to each other quoting a movie.
Oh yeah, what about Bob? Is just it has permeated all of our all of our vocabularies.
And all our dinners and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, no, it's good. Okay. Back,
What's your favorite
back to
movie?
Lynn. You know, that's a great question. I like you. I love them. But there's somebody that made a big impact.
Yeah.
It
It's
is hard.
hard-
It is hard to pick one. That's
It
why I
real-
love that question because you really got to.
really
To your
tough.
point about genres,
Yeah. That's tough.
that's a tough one. I had so many that I remember thinking how cool it was, how much I loved it. You know, I don't know. Probably, I would have to say probably if I really wanted like to make like a statement response, like what do I really think was the best movie I ever saw? It'd be The Godfather. But that's such a standard answer because
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a yeah.
I just
It's a
love.
classic.
I can watch 1 and 2 over and over and over again. I
need
guess
to
because of
watch
our
that.
Italian background too,
Right.
our heritage. It's kind of that. The other thing is the very first movie I thought, wow, that was awesome. Was The Sting.
Oh, that was a good movie.
If you remember The Sting,
Yeah.
I just loved how I love.
Yeah.
I was like,
You
wow.
don't even have to like Robert Red. You don't have to like all the stars in it.
Right.
It's just the story and the writing.
the
was
writing, the story,
good.
Yeah, the surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Okay, what? We're going to go over to you now to start, Toots. What is your favorite city that you've ever been to? You got to pick one.
Another tough one.
Isn't that tough?
Oh, it really is because it's like domestic versus international. That's a tough one.
And not necessarily that you have to live, but like just think of it as like just the city that you love being in when you're there. So it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you have to. It's not like we have to live there. But like when you think about all the places you've been here and around the world, and you think, you know, when I'm there, I really, really love being there.
Yeah.
What is that?
Wow. I'm gonna say that is a very tough question. We could talk for 3 hours on that one. I'm gonna say New York,
Okay.
even though I could name 5 that would equal it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
think.
agree. Now, in New York, when you think of New York, what's the most thing that you love to do the most when you're in New York?
I would say it's just that whole Broadway
Me
element.
too. Me too.
So even though there's so many wonderful things, I would say without Broadway and the museums, I may, I would lean to a different city maybe.
Yeah.
And it's just so exciting.
I couldn't agree more. I think the combo package of dinner and a Broadway play,
Yeah.
especially if both are great,
Yeah.
when you do that for the first time, then then I feel like you feel like it's kind of a double whammy. I kind of get New York
Right.
now, why it's different, and I get the country.
Right.
Like we have like the best food and the best talent in terms of entertainment right there
Yeah.
for for
And
these
that-
300 people, however how many people.
Yeah,
live.
and I think there's something about just the magic of the setting and the city, because you can see wonderful theater and eat wonderful meals in a lot of cities.
Yeah.
Like San Francisco, I might have named
Yeah.
secondly. But I think it's just the vibe and the excitement and the surroundings and, the noise and the people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right. It's like context.
and it's interesting because to your earlier point, I wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
wouldn't pick
Right.
it because I would want to live there. I would not even want to live
yeah.
there.
But going in and going
Yeah.
out for 2 days is magical.
Yeah.
How about you, Crick?
Well, I'm not as well traveled as you guys are. So I have a lot more cities. I'll just put it out there that I intend to go see,
Yeah.
so that I can pick a favorite. But of what I know and have experienced, domestically, I'm going to have to go with Chicago. Love Chicago. When I get there, I just feel excited but not overwhelmed. Like New York can overwhelm me a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And maybe too, that's because I haven't been there that often either. But when I get to Chicago, I feel like I'm surrounded with a bunch of people I can relate to, and it feels good and it's exciting, but it's not too over the top
Yeah.
for me. So I love it. I could live there if the circumstances were right. Like I'd have to make sure like all of us live there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
How about,
I
is
love
there a
that.
particular-
That's a good point. Because I would say that about Boston and other cities.
Right.
But then we would all look at each other and go, oh my gosh, look at the effort it took for all of us to get to Charlotte.
Right.
So
Right.
all our kids could be raised together.
Yeah.
And then,
What about what the time of year in Chicago? I happen to think that summer in Chicago is just obviously the winter's tough, but I mean summer is different and special too. 'Cause
Oh,
there's-
yeah.
You're down Oak Street Beach and your Navy Pier, and everyone's out walking down there.
Yeah, a
and-
whole different part of Chicago, or even Michigan Avenue. You know,
Yeah, shopping.
It is different, although not against putting on a fur coat and hanging out
Yeah.
during the winter as well.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's
Walking around,
phenomenal.
yeah.
I love that feeling.
yeah.
Maybe the holiday time, especially.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Now, Mang, have you taken the kids, by the way? I'm going to just check in. Have you taken the kids to New York for Broadway play yet?
No, Mary intends to because we have a cousin who has a show.
On Broadway?
I believe so.
Wow, that's
Cool.
cool.
I
That's
believe
very
so.
cool.
I
Yeah.
need to check in on
I
that.
would, wouldn't
Yeah.
you highly recommend that's something you want to do with your kids?
Oh, yes.
One time before they're out of the house as a family is
Yeah.
go to the show, go to dinner.
Yeah.
Well, playing off the city. We covered the city, we covered the movie. This is kind of a dead giveaway of what we all, this is an homage to Sisterhood, but it's like what we all like to do. So what about your best meal? What's the best meal you've ever had anywhere in the world?
Oh, wow.
Christine, what was your best meal?
Gosh, I need time to think about that one.
Does anyone, for me, there is one meal that Kelly and I had that we always say, it just stands out.
It stands out.
It was in Sorrento,
Okay.
and it was unplanned. Maybe that's what made it so good. And they started with apricot ravioli, as that's how it opened. And then from there, it was the fish and the chicken and the pasta.
That
and,
sounds
and by the way,
amazing.
we ordered nothing. It was all brought to us.
Right.
Right, the way they do it over there. So it was like, it just was one of those times where the right moment, the right food, it was magical. So
Yeah.
that one for us, I have one of those. That's why I was curious if you have one of those.
I can't say one that stands out. I guess if I had to pick, nostalgically, I will pick Mom's spaghetti and meatballs,
Oh, that's a good
Which-
answer.
Yeah.
and which Dad ended up also making very well.
Oh, yeah.
With the sauce and everything. Like, there's just something about that meal, and I don't know if it's connected to our childhood and why I love that
Right.
meal so much.
Yeah.
But that is an all-timer for me when
Yeah.
when they would roll out that meal.
Now, did
That was
you
a big
like
meal.
it?
That was a good meal.
Were you up for that meal as often occurred the next day, warmed up? Were you?
Often occurred.
Oh, I'm
Only if
laughing.
you were lucky.
I'm laughing
Only if you were
because
lucky and there was leftovers.
when we were little and Mom warmed it up, of course, they didn't have even the appliances they have today. So, it was
Right.
done differently. So when Mom warmed it up, do you remember, like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was with a little bit of water in the bottom of a frying pan?
I still do that. That's
and
how
then
I
Mom
warm.
put it,
I still
Right.
warm it
put
up
the
that way.
pasta in there and
Yeah.
steamed it up kind of for us,
Yeah.
which kind of took it to a different meal because
Yeah.
the sauce kind of
Got hard.
hard on the pasta.
So one of the very few times that I was taking exception to Mom's cooking, I mean, maybe one or two times, and this is one of
Right.
them, was me. I distinctly remember having long arguments with Mom, like maybe 10 seconds, but as a kid saying, I don't like fried spaghetti.
Fried spaghetti. It was a little
good.
bit. It came
It
out
just-
a little bit different.
It tasted like, oh, we took the good meal and we burnt it. But that's what's
Just so that it
available,
would
so
taste,
eat it.
just so it would taste differently than when you.
I bet I know her
previously had.
answer to you.
Yeah, eat
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Sit down and eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any one meal that you remember?
There's so many because food, you said movies are such a key part to all of our lives, but food definitely.
Yeah.
I would say one that always stood out was on our honeymoon on Aruba. We went to this incredible place and had what was called tornadoes of beef on a bed of mashed potatoes. And I'm sure there were many other things there,
Yeah.
but they weren't necessary because just those two
That
things.
sounds amazing.
They were, it was unbelievable. And it stuck with me.
Yeah. So you always, that's
I-
pretty, that's a great time for you to have that.
Yeah.
tied
And
into your-
yeah, it was amazing.
Sometimes, though, don't you think the meal, the reason, obviously the food itself was very good,
Yeah.
but maybe the reason it was so good was what you were doing at
Yeah.
the time. Like
Yeah.
that was your honeymoon, and that was a special moment in Sorrento.
I think
I'm
you're
sure
right. I
Yeah.
think you're right
was
about
special for you,
Yeah.
and so it's like it makes the meal extra fantastic.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah,
That's
true
right.
with
If you were in the garage eating that same food,
yeah, it may,
I'm not sure what it would taste like.
now that was one punishment I don't remember
Yeah.
being put in the garage
Yeah.
to eat our meals. But,
Right.
but there
Yeah.
were many others.
Yes. Yes. No, yeah, food's big. I mean,
Yeah.
food, we could, for all the things we've talked about so far, we could go on forever.
Oh,
I mean, it could be a
And
whole
we should
show.
be 400 pounds
Yeah.
because we ate.
food is, I actually thought about that this morning, as we all do every morning when we look in the mirror and we're hoping for the good thing, but we're really
Yeah.
seeing the other thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think to myself, yeah, but if you really think about it, if you did some kind of calculation on all the food that I've consumed since birth, I should weigh 400 pounds.
Exactly.
So it's a gift.
Yeah.
it's a gift.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, like sleep.
This metabolism actually isn't that bad, right? Okay. Some of the questions I wanted to get into with you guys, it might be a little bit embarrassing or nervous, but you could just, the whole, Matt, isn't our whole thing, what do we always talk about? Pure, raw honesty, right? That's what we go for,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
boy.
I'm ready. Are you?
yeah.
Oh yeah,
So what do you
pure.
Bring it
raw
on.
Honesty.
think? So my first question, Christine, is in a pinch, would it be Tom Selleck or Tom Hanks for you? If you really wanted to, spend some time together, would you want?
Oh my goodness.
Are you a Tom Selleck girl or a Tom Hanks girl?
I think Tom Hanks is hilarious, but Tom Selleck would be sitting right next to me, or perhaps on his lap. Yeah, for sure.
Wow, there was no hesitation there.
No.
That's an excellent choice.
Yeah, thank you. You like him? Yeah,
I think he's great.
I do too. You know why? I like all kinds of men and people, but he's
Yeah.
a man's man. Like I like a man's man. I'm
Yeah.
kind of
I'd rather
traditional
be
that
like
way.
Tom Selleck than, I mean, no offense to Tom Hanks, he's great, but
Yeah.
I'd rather be like Tom Selleck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like both, but
Yeah.
definitely Tom
Now,
Selleck.
now, would you agree, by the way, in giving you those two choices from the same era, generation, which lines up with ours, they're both really great,
They're both so
right?
great.
Both great. I mean, there's many great.
Yeah, I mean,
actors
you're
and
just asking like
people, but I'm saying because
Who
they
would you-
represent kind of like stud good looks
Mm-hmm.
and man's man, like you said, versus like that guy who was just funny and charming. And okay,
Yeah, and that's great too.
and that's great too. And most of the time, everything you read, it says the women like the people that make them laugh.
That's
so I
right.
thought for sure you'd go for Hanks. But how about you, Toots?
Well, I'm going to have to confess because whatever that code was that you said, pure
Honesty.
pure honesty.
Yeah.
So first,
Raw.
first apartment solo, Ranch Village,
Yes.
Parma Heights, or Middleburg. Tom Selleck's poster was on my ceiling above my bed.
Wow, that is raw
Yeah.
honesty.
So
I didn't remember that.
yeah, he was literally on the ceiling above my bed. And I've loved him from Magnum PI or prior to that, all the way through Blue Blood, his current
Yeah.
shtick.
Wow.
And yeah, I've always always loved Tom Selleck. So
Isn't that
and
what-
nothing
So
and
you're
like
going
you
with
said,
Tom Hanks.
yes, I'm going with Tom Hanks. No, and like you said, I love Tom Hanks too,
Uh-huh.
but I never had, and I never felt any kind of connection or anything to Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Where Tom Selleck, I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder where he lives.
Yeah. Now, isn't it crazy how if something must have just in my head subconsciously, I had no idea about the poster
Yeah,
or that there was that history there with liking Tom Selleck.
yeah,
But I do remember, generally speaking, when I think back to that time, I guess it would be the time when we were in our like early to mid 20s.
mm-hmm.
Like he was the man.
Oh yeah,
You're right. He was the.
He
I mean,
really was.
He was.
yeah.
And what's-
It
He was
would
kind of
be-
like the Marlboro Man.
Yes,
know, like
very
that
much
vibe.
Yeah, and no differently than I'm sure there was a whole cadre of people who related to Farrah Fawcett.
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh yeah.
In
No,
that
she was the-
era, it
no
was
question.
like that. That's who
Definitely.
she was, the it girl, and
No.
just like he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, parlaying off of that, who, Christine, for you is the best entertainer of all time? And that includes, well, let's do it this way because it's just
So
too hard.
hard.
I'm going to let you pick two. One's for music and one's for movies. Who's the best entertainer? If you could go see it, that's the one you want to go see.
Oh my gosh, you're asking really tough
Mhm,
questions.
I agree. Let's make these easier.
Okay, I know I always do this. Like I don't ever really give just one answer, so I'm going to try to do the same thing with this. Like all our lives, for every reason we know, like through mom, and then on our own, and then going to see her in person. But like Barbara Streisand's, like obviously the end all be all, as far as talent, true talent pouring out of a voice to me is amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yep.
However, I've been really entertained by going to see like Michael Jackson and Prince and Bruno Mars and that kind of entertaining show where it's like the whole time it's just full on entertainment. Like there's a talent in that because to be on stage for hours and just entertain people in that kind of way is so enjoyable for me. I really enjoyed that. So
What's really
I'm not
sad
giving one
is
answer.
Of those three guys, Bruno Mars is the only one
I
still here.
know. Very sad.
That's sad.
Really sad. Movies, you might have to come back to me on that one. I don't know.
Is there
about
one actor that you're
movies.
like that you just think's the bomb?
Well, yeah, not so much because he's the best actor, but because I enjoy him and I'm attracted to him as an actor and as a man and all. Like I do love Andy Garcia. I'm a big Andy Garcia fan.
Wow.
Yeah.
takes you
Love
back to
Andy
Godfather.
Garcia.
Remember the guy? Remember him
Yeah,
in the Godfather?
yeah. I mean, since then all the way through,
Yeah.
some other
choice.
things I've seen him in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of under the radar, I'd
Yeah.
say,
He
for
is-
most
he-
people.
He is under the radar.
But he's one of those actors, like he's believable to me. Like when I watch him in a film, I'm like, I really can get into the character because I really find him to act in a way that makes me really believe
yeah, he's he's
his
good.
character.
I like him.
Yeah.
I agree.
How about you?
Well, definitely.
gotta be Barbra
Definitely Barbara. So Christine already covered that, but
Yeah.
there will never be another Barbara, as far as I'm concerned. I do, though, since she picked Barbara and covered her, I'll say I do just love Adele.
Oh, she's fantastic.
So I would
Yeah.
say Adele, and on the movie side, or actor
Yeah.
side, that is equally tough.
Yeah.
But it seems like I'm always drawn more to the chameleon actors, like the Meryl Streeps and Helen Mirrens and Judi Dench type.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So,
fantastic.
Those are all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Good
those
choices.
are all like, what would you
So
call them?
good.
Think of the word where like at the highest
Yeah.
echelon level. I mean, they're like the royalty of actresses.
Right.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you don't even really care what the movie's about. If they're in it, you're going to watch it.
That's right.
Yeah, and you know it's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. You know you're going to go see it.
Yeah. Those are good. I think those are great.
How about you?
For entertainer, I've been on this thing lately. I don't. So you know how when we grew up, we weren't even allowed to go to concerts
Right.
or have albums.
Right.
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 Like, well, we weren't allowed to concerts because we were allowed to go because we weren't allowed to go out at all. And we didn't have albums because they were like between $1 and $5, and nobody had between $1 and $5 for an album.
Well,
right?
in the music we wanted to.
We weren't allowed
Right.
to
An
listen
album
to.
before we weren't allowed to listen to.
Right.
Like I'm just enjoying Pink Floyd now
Right. And I
because we
bought in,
weren't allowed.
yeah, and I bought into all that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is one great thing to cover. So I bought into all that, which was kind of a double benefit because only now, the last 25 years, let's say now, but like as an adult, well into adulthood, I'm just more and more and more in love with the music of our generation.
Oh, no
So
question.
true.
I think
And
like a
so
lot of
is
us-
So are
everyone else.
kids.
A lot
Yeah.
of us, yeah.
All
Yeah.
these
So-
generations
which is
are.
great.
And even to the extreme where, like back then, I would say there's no way in hell I'm going to that concert. I mean, I wouldn't even want to, let alone the propaganda we were getting about why we weren't allowed to.
Right.
But I do have this thing right now with Prince. I really think Prince probably was. I think he was so far, but like he's like a musical genius.
And I kind of feel that way about Freddie Mercury too. I almost have to put him right
Yeah,
up there with
yeah.
Prince.
I would agree with that. I would say Freddie Mercury and Prince
Yeah.
would be the two least likely people between my age of birth and say 30 that I would have I would have probably told you who is Freddie Mercury.
Right.
Right. Even though we were there when he was coming up.
Right. It's
But
true.
now, like in the last 30 years, like a Freddie, and another thing about like they're both geniuses
Mm-hmm.
and they were both like creative maniacs. But the thing I've learned about Prince is this just recently in the last few years is this work ethic that he had, which was different than anything I've ever heard before.
Interesting.
That's been documented about how like he would write a song. I've talked about this before in a prior
Yeah, that's right.
episode. The people that worked around him then like gave testimony to the fact that this guy would leave a concert. He would leave the concert, go home, sleep, tell everybody sleep for a couple hours, and get up maybe at midnight or 1 a.m, and then write and record songs all night long. And he wrote and recorded a song every day for 5 years.
Wow.
So the lady in the documentary said what he did in a week is what everybody did in a 6 months to a year period.
I
That's
never
amazing.
Just-
knew that.
Yeah,
about
so
him.
it's just
know that
I really
either.
so like yeah, so there's but normally my go-to from birth to now is Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
Absolutely.
I thought of Frank.
Yeah, Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra. If you said entertainer, boom, done. Frank Sinatra.
Right.
And he did it all. He was a triple threat.
Yep.
He could sing, he could dance,
Yeah.
he was in movies.
Mhm.
That's the other thing about him that is pretty incredible. He, Academy Award
Yep.
and winner, Grammy winner, and of course, all those generations. He was born in 1915, and what kills me is, and he died in 98, so he was 83 years. Like 60 of his 83 years, he was like hugely relevant in the music industry.
Mhm.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. An amazing life. No
Yeah.
question.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
He'll probably always
Good
be
choice.
relevant. I mean, I don't know that he'll ever go away,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is good.
Great,
Mhm.
great one. Okay, man, how we doing on time?
We're around 33
Thir-
minutes. and
33.
28
Okay, that's
seconds.
perfect.
Oh, it
We
goes
got
by
a
so
couple more
fast.
questions. Do you have just a couple more questions? And I think there's also good ones. Do you, Christine? Do you remember? Not your first kiss. I'm not asking if you remember your first kiss. I'm asking you: is there any time in your life a special kiss? That's the kiss that you always think of as like, yeah, that was a special kiss.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
One,
That's a tough
not a lot.
one.
One.
Oh,
That's a good
Well.
question.
You can't expand on it.
might have to come back to me.
Oh, he's going to narrow it down to one?
Was there one? We got it. You guys, what's at the top of the pyramid? I mean, what's the number one? Is there one? Not only one person, the one moment with that person.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to go with the one that just
You got to
jumps
go
right in
yeah,
your
yeah.
head.
You
Yeah.
can't try to think through, all the things. Is there? If it doesn't jump, then say no. There isn't one.
Yeah, no, there is. There's one.
There is one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to ask you to.
I'm not going to tell you about it, but
Well,
there
yes,
is
there is.
one.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So there is one.
There
Do you
is
have-
one.
Do you have one?
Oh,
Lynn?
definitely.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's probably not the one
Now,
you think.
as sisters, would you share, like, if you went to coffee after
Mm-hmm.
this or somewhere in your life, would you share, like, what would you do?
Oh, yeah.
Do girls talk about that?
Well, only because you brought it up. But I mean,
No, I'm
if
saying-
it happened to have come up,
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have
we
talked
would.
about that
Oh,
for
it's
sure.
definitely it would.
Yeah.
I can't think of a topic that we've really ever had that I would say is like off limits or or something that I would think, oh, I wouldn't
So-
share that
Sisters,
too much.
Yeah, I mean,
I
no, I
no-
don't think so either.
no.
I can't think of
You talk about
I,
that.
I can't think of one conversation where we looked at each other and said, "Oh, let's stay away from that."
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah, I would agree with
we
that.
don't have that.
really?
No,
Do you think that's common between sisters?
That is a really good question because sorry about that. There's so many times when, and I'm sure this happens for a lot of people in a lot of families, but even though we know how special all of our relationships are and how fortunate we are
Yeah.
to have the family we have and all of the relationships that we have, you can reach a point where you assume that's pretty prevalent and not unusual.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because so many times we'll be out shopping, or we'll be out doing our walking, or wherever we are,
Yeah.
and people will say, "Oh, that's your sister," and wow, I don't really see a lot of sisters that are like that. That
or they'll they'll
good
say,
friends that
"Gosh, I
spend
wish-
that
Yeah,
amount of
so
time.
I wish
together.
I was like that with my sister,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I wish, I don't know anyone who acts like that as a sister. It's
Yeah,
like,
we
it's
hear that a
interesting.
lot, and also across the broader family. But as far
Yeah.
as sisters go,
Yeah.
we definitely hear that a lot.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, I think I assumed too that most people like got along with and loved their siblings, their
Yeah.
sisters.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the more people I talk to and the older I get, I hear a lot more stories about people who don't get along. In fact, don't even talk anymore, which is so sad.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
really sad.
it is.
Because when you have the gift of your brother or your sister and you really like them and you know them on a daily basis, you just can't imagine
Can't imagine.
the
it's
hole
kinda-
that leaves.
It,
I
it
don't
really
know.
is sad if you think about whatever the circumstances were that when, by the time people go from when they live together as a family, a nuclear family, and, when you're doing that, when you do that with 6 people plus your grandmother, so 7 in 1,100 square feet,
Right.
you know each other.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, one bathroom the size of a closet.
That's
Yeah.
right.
One bath, so you're in it. I mean, you know each other. So it's sad. I think a lot of times I see families that I knew grew up that way because all of our lifelong friends grew up in the same
Same
thing
way.
we did.
Sure.
But they kind of like went out and dispersed, and there are circumstances where they just don't maintain that level of closeness.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, I see that. And I think the added benefit for us, too, is that we're so fortunate that all of our children are close and friends and would call on one another and do. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Okay. Well, to close it out, I have one question, and I'm going to limit it to one-word answer.
Oh, wow.
It's a one-word answer, and that's really because otherwise I'm sure that all 3 of us would be crying at the end of it. So you only have a one-word answer. You can't expand on it. Just a one-word
All
answer.
right, you go first this time.
Give me one word that describes how you would describe your sister.
I thought you said no tears. I'm going to have to say caring.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I could come up with a lot of them, but you're forcing us to one
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now
Yeah.
I'm teary-eyed.
That's
so
tough.
that-
That's tough.
Well, a word instantly popped in my head, so I'm going to have to go with the first one because you're right. We could sit here, we could go back and forth 20 times probably on words, but my word that popped in my mind was incredible.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. Incredible. She's incredible.
These ladies.
And I would agree. I would agree to the max on both of those. But
Thank you. Well,
that's
we
why
think you're incredible.
I
too.
wanted
Yeah.
to save that one to the end for you guys because I know it's tough, but I know
yeah.
how much you love each other, and that's why I wanted to start knowing what our title would be because the sisterhood it's deep and it's beautiful, and I think it's so. Today was so everybody get a chance to know those beautiful people, those beautiful sisters.
You're so sweet.
Okay.
We love you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Love
you.
you. Thanks for
Yeah.
having us. Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt.
Thanks,
How
Matt.
about there we
got
go.
it.
And let's do a little dance. A little
Uh-oh.
bit. Yeah, none of that. Matt.
Oh, look out. She's shaking it.
I don't have anything to shake, but I was thinking this would be fun if you had some.